This video is about what are good things to do in preparation for a competition. It's not about preload testing or choosing which is the best to use, but more about how to safely transport your device and how you can maximize its performance. What do I mean about maximizing performance? Isn't what it's going to hold and its mass fixed? Well, not exactly. Look at this picture of the exact same bridge. On the left it weighs 4.467 grams and on the right 4.938 grams. That is a difference in score potential of 427 points given the bonus scoring rules this year. So what is going on here? As you might have already guessed, the mass of these Balsa devices can change quite a bit based on the humidity in the air. You can think of balsa wood kind of like a sponge. Here you can see a dry sponge weighs about 6 grams and a fully saturated one is about 34 grams. That is a massive difference and it's way more than the range of what our Balsa devices can do. It's also very easy to see the difference by just looking. Here is a more realistic comparison. The sponge on the left is damp and weighs about 18 grams. Then I just added a little bit of water to the one on the right and now it weighs over 35% more. It's also extremely hard to tell the difference between these two sponges by just looking at them. This is a good analogy for our Balsa devices, but instead of having to add water to a sponge, the device can absorb or give the water directly to or from the air. Let's talk a little bit about humidity. Absolute humidity is expressed in terms of mass of water vapor per volume. In this chart, that is grams per cubic meter. You can see that this value changes drastically with temperature. The hotter it is, the more capacity the air has to hold water. The maximum it can hold corresponds to 100% relative humidity. Relative humidity, often expressed as a percentage, indicates a present state of absolute humidity relative to a maximum humidity given the same temperature. If you've ever been in super frigid temperatures, say minus 25 degrees C, and it felt really dry, it's because it is really dry, and the air at that temperature can barely hold any water vapor at all. This would be ideal conditions to test our devices, but it might be tricky to set them up with winter gloves on. For all my testing, you can assume a baseline of approximately 20 degrees C or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a reasonable thing to assume for our purposes, but keep in mind if you're in a hot climate and testing without good air conditioning, temperature may play a big role. This is the baseline mass for the bridge. It was the weight just after I built it and everything has been in the ambient environment. It weighs 4.75 grams. You can see by the small relative humidity meter that it's at 32%. Now you know why these meters also show the temperature, 66.5 degrees Fahrenheit in this case, because you really need to know that as well to make use of that percentage if you want to know the absolute water content in the air. It's really important to know the mass of your device accurately before going into a competition. One reason is that sometimes the event supervisors or helpers don't know or follow the rules for weigh-in. I have unfortunately heard of cases where the supervisor actually touched the device to hold it steady during weigh-in. This is obviously extremely bad, as they are never supposed to touch it at all, but it can also lead to very inaccurate readings. Here I am touching the bridge as lightly as possible, and the readings are all over the place. Because no coach or parent communication can happen with the students once the test has begun, it's very important for the competitors to immediately raise concerns if the weight they are seeing is not close to what they know it should be. Don't be afraid to ask for the scale to be re-zeroed or have your device weighed again. If your device doesn't fit or balance properly, make sure you know how to use something like a bowl or a cup with the scale's tare button to get an accurate reading like I'm demonstrating here. This is how I like to transport the devices to competition. Even if you aren't going to do any of the other things I'm going to show in this video, I highly recommend you transport your device in a box like this. Make sure the top of your bin has the foam insert around the edge, as that will be critical to making a good airtight dry box. I recommend having a separate bin for each device. If you have two teams going to the same competition, put them in different bins. I also highly recommend you just loosely tape your device to the bottom of the bin as shown here with blue painter's tape. Don't use any fancy packing materials or peanuts. There is much less risk of damage when pulling the device out of the bin if it's as empty as possible. As you can see, it's plenty strong enough to keep the device from moving around in the box during normal transport. Before I get into how it's possible to lower the mass of our devices, I wanted to experiment with something that simulated a worst-case scenario. Because it's winter right now in Michigan, the ambient air is pretty dry, so I've set up a humidifier in a small closed bathroom. Here is the video of my high humidity test. This video is sped up by a factor of 60, so 1 second equals 1 minute of real time. You can see the mass of the bridge starts at a baseline of 4.75 grams and steadily increases. The relative humidity also increases from 70 to 80% during this test. I would have preferred if the humidity had stayed constant, but it's fine for showing what happens. Here is a look at the data from the experiment. The baseline mass of 4.75 grams is plotted at the bottom. I recorded the scale reading from the video every 5 seconds for the first minute and then every 10 seconds up to 2,000 seconds. You can see that the bridge steadily increases mass for the first 1,000 seconds as it absorbs the water from the air. I can't really explain the 5-minute plateau and then a steady increase after that, but my speculation is that it's because the humidity was increasing during the test, or perhaps the more dense part of the bridge absorbed water more slowly than the others. Regardless, the bridge went from 4.75 grams to a peak of 4.94 grams, or an increase of 4%. Let's try to do something a little more useful now and see if we can get our device to lose mass. Here you can see the humidity meters in the plastic bin. I like to use 2 of these meters, one that gets taped inside the box and one that stays outside so you can always track the ambient humidity. Here they start out at the same 31% reading. I like to use simple silica gel packs for the dry box. You can buy them in packs of 50 or 100, so they are fairly cheap to use. For a bin this size, something like 5 or 6 is more than enough to maximize their performance. Make sure the top is secure when you close the lid. Here is the result a day later. You can see that the relative humidity inside the box is now down to 19%, which is a good result for this type of setup. Be aware that the gel packs will get saturated eventually and you'll need to replace them. That is the main reason to keep a meter inside the box so you can know if it's still working well. This is the bridge going on the scale immediately after coming out of the dry box. You can see that the initial mass is down to 4.59 grams, or a drop of just over 3.3%. Here's the test video sped up 60 times, so 1 second equals 1 minute. Also of note is that the ambient humidity is now up to around 40%, which should only affect the rate at which it absorbs water. The ambient increase was due to it being rainy outside for the past 12 hours or so. Here is a look at the data. This time the baseline mass of 4.75 grams is plotted at the top of the graph. You can see that the dry box bridge starts to regain mass quicker at first and then is fairly linear after about 5 minutes. We'll look at the critical first couple minutes more closely in a little bit. You might be wondering if there is something we can do to get closer to the dry sponge analogy. The answer is yes. It turns out if you bake your device in the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, it removes almost all of the water. I'll demonstrate that here. I like to put the device on a cookie sheet with parchment paper. Here you can see me putting the baked bridge on the scale. I checked the timing and it was just 13 seconds after coming out of the oven. It settles at a starting mass of 4.47 grams, or almost 5.9% lighter than our baseline of 4.75 grams. Again, here's the sped up video where 1 second equals 1 minute, so you can easily see it gaining mass as it absorbs moisture from the air. The ambient humidity here is 44%, slightly higher than before, but not substantially different. The orange line on the chart represents the baked bridge mass over time. You can see it's much lower than even the dry box curve, and its nonlinear section is even more pronounced. Here's the problem though. I don't think anyone is going to be able to take an oven to a competition and pull your device out at the last minute before weigh-in. So what's the best that we can practically do? What if we bake the bridge and then immediately put it in the dry box? That is what I'm going to test here to try and simulate the best possible thing you could realistically do. I'll leave the bridge in the dry box for 24 hours to simulate taking it to a competition the next day. Let's see what happens. Here's the bridge the next day after being baked and then spending 24 hours in the dry box. You can see that it starts out at 4.55 grams, which is not quite as good as the pure baking test, but it's better than just the dry box test. This result is about 4.2% better than the baseline mass of 4.75 grams. The yellow line represents the tests we just ran that showed the results of baking and then spending 24 hours in a dry box. This simulates the best possible thing you could expect at a real competition. Now let's take a look to see if it's worth the effort. Here's the same chart zoomed in to look at the critical first 3 minutes. It's been my experience that for a normal competition, you should expect to be able to weigh your device within this time frame if you wait to open your bin until the last possible moment. Let's take a look at the potential scores at the 60-second mark. For the bridge that had no drying at 4.75 grams, the potential maximum score is 4,211. Using just the dry box, the mass is 4.60 grams for a score of 4,348. Baking plus dry box is 4.57 grams for a score of 4,376. And finally, the impossible baked-only result would be 4.50 grams, or a score of 4,444. My conclusion from all this data is that I would 100% recommend using a dry box for everything. It's simple to do, and it can be very consistent and provides a lot of benefit not only to mass loss, but to knowing exactly what the device should weigh at competition regardless of the ambient conditions. This is what my students did with hundreds of devices with no problems. While baking is interesting and could possibly provide a small gain, the effort involved generally isn't worth it. Perhaps if the entire gain from baking could be preserved, it would be useful. But that would involve creating some kind of super dry box, maybe refrigerated or something, obviously not practical at all. Just for the sake of being complete, the last test of being baked and then in a dry box for 24 hours took about 6 hours in the ambient air to return to the baseline mass. A big question I always hear is, does baking or using a dry box damage the device? Drying the wood out certainly makes it more brittle, but brittle doesn't necessarily mean weaker, especially in compression. C grain balsa is inherently more brittle than A or B grain, but it's great for compression situations. Does drying negatively affect the glue joints? With just using a dry box, I have experience with hundreds of devices, and I can confidently say that there are no negative effects. With baking, I have a lot less practical experience, but let's see what happens with this bridge as an example. This bridge has an interesting story to tell during its testing. I made it heavy enough so I was fairly certain it would hold at least 15 kilograms. Needless to say, I was surprised and disappointed that it failed at 10.4 kilograms. With the high-speed footage, it's easy to see exactly what happened. The back tension member failed right at the leg. I had used strong enough wood that this shouldn't have happened. At first I was confused, and then I remembered what happened after the first baking. It wasn't the baking that damaged it, but in my rush to pull it out of the oven and weigh it as fast as possible, I hit the tension member at the leg on the shelf in the oven. I heard a crack, but it didn't break, and I was mainly concerned with the mass, so I didn't worry about it at the time. Going back and carefully looking at a picture I took of the bridge before putting it in the oven a second time, you can actually see where the tension member has most likely cracked. It's not obvious, but this is exactly where the joint failed during testing. All is not lost though, because the only damage that was done during the first test was that tension member, so I decided to replace it and test it again. Here is the same bridge again with a replaced back tension member. Let's see what happens this time. I'll speed up the video here until the end. So that's interesting. I ran out of sand at just over 22.5 kilograms. I was not expecting it to hold that much, but I wanted to see exactly how strong it was, so I needed to retest it again. This time, I started by putting two 10-pound steel plates at the bottom of the bucket. You have to do this very carefully, as hanging a bucket by hand that starts at around 10 kilograms is pretty risky, but it's the only way I have to get above that 22 kilogram maximum load with just sand. Wow, what an explosion and what a result! For this bridge at least, the environmental abuse of cycling between an 80% relative humidity room and baking it twice didn't seem to have any effect on its performance. It held 25.983 kilograms with a nominal dry box weight of 4.60 grams, gives it an actual efficiency of 5,648. That is the highest actual efficiency bridge I've ever built by over 1,000. I'm pretty sure it's the highest efficiency balsa bridge I've ever heard of. Granted, it's at almost 26 kilograms and not 15 kilograms, so it's not directly applicable to the Science Olympiad rules, but it does show how strong this design is as you scale up the mass. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and learning about some of my tricks and tips for competition prep. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any specific questions.